In today's episode, I'm going to do a walkthrough top to bottom of my 2019 Nissan Navara D23. Proudly supported by TYRES, Superior Engineering, and in part by. I've had this four-wheel drive for 3 years. I bought it brand new back in 2019 and I've done just under 80,000 kilometers on it. I am looking at selling it soon, so I thought before I'd do a run through of the whole vehicle, all the modifications I've done to it, my experience with it, all the places we've been, and answer some of the commonly asked questions that I get on this rig. A little bit of basic information about the car. Nissan Navara D23, it's the most recent model of the Navara range. They come in a dual cab or single cab, this being the dual cab model. It is a 2.3 litre twin turbo diesel engine in there. This is a coil springs front and rear. You can get models with leaf springs at the rear, more the ones that are used for working and tradies, but yeah, this is a coil springs all around. Disc brakes at the front, drum brakes at the rear, and then it's independent front suspension and then solid axle suspension down the rear. Now obviously you don't buy them like this. I've done a fair bit of modifying to it over the last few years. So I'll start down the front and start working my way through all the mods. Bull bar is a Ironman Commercial Deluxe bull bar. It's a steel, 3-hooped, seems to offer pretty good protection at the front. Does the job. Main reason for the bull bar just being offering that front end protection and a place to mount all your accessories. So in the bull bar I have a winch. It is a Ironman winch again. I just got it in combination with the bull bar. 9,500 pounds synthetic rope on it. I did change the hook to a factor 55 closed link hook, which is just a bit safer, a bit more sturdier, because I have done a fair bit of winching on this car. And then up the front we got some really good spotties. These are actually super bright, these ones. They're high quality. They're ARB Solaces, so yeah, they've been really good spotlights. And then for a antenna, it is a Oricom. This is a town and country antenna pack. So this is the short 3 dBi one, but I do have an extension that you can screw onto the top there and make it 6.5 dBi. And that's obviously connected to your handheld UHF in the cab, which I'll show once I get in there. And then running down from the bull bar, I've got some underbody plates that go all the way back, right all the way down through there to the transfer case. From memory, they are 4mm steel, I'm fairly sure. And then up the front, I have proper rated recovery points. They are the Ironman ones, and there's another one over there on the other side, so that way you can safely pull off the front of the car. The big one, the most exciting one, wheels and tires. Starting with the tires, these are actually some pretty fresh ones I've got on there. These are just an aggressive all-terrain, so they're the Maxxis Razor all-terrain. I sort of moved into more touring in this car over the harder stuff, so that's why I went a bit more of an all-terrain. I much prefer muddies for the harder stuff, but these are just quite good for on-road driving. And they are a 285/75 R16, which equates to about a 33-inch tyre. And they are running on a ROH Vapor rim, 16-inch rim, and it's a +20 offset, which on this car makes it sit pretty much dead in line with the guard. It may be about a mil or two out, but I didn't really see the need for any flares here. And the suspension, I'll just do the front and then I'll do the back after, because it's quite different between them. Being independent front suspension, you got your shock with your coil like around it, so your shock and coil together. It's an Ironman Foam Cell Pro shock and coil. And they've been pretty good. I haven't really had any dramas with them. They seem to have lasted the whole time in there. I have some adjustable upper control arms as well, which just helps with, once you lift it, being able to get those better wheel alignments, and it helps with where your tyre sits. So yeah, they're Super Pro adjustable upper control arms. The bushes flogged out in both of them after a while. I've put new bushes in them and they've been fine since then. With this tyre upper control arm rim combo that I have, I haven't had to do any cutting in the guard. It hasn't scrubbed at all. Yeah, it's all been good. It's no scrubbing, no cutting required. That setup seems to work quite well. For me personally, my belief, IFS vehicle 2-inch lift 33s is about the perfect combo for touring and a bit of tough track stuff as well. Brakes, I have some upgraded Bendix discs and pads on this car. So Bendix discs on the front, pads, factory drum brakes still on the rear though. So down the back, being that it's a solid axle, obviously the suspension is going to be a little bit different. As I said earlier, coil springs down the rear, so coil springs are separate to your shocks. I did originally have the Ironman shocks in down the rear too, but then I went for an upgraded long travel kit in the rear. Because it's solid axle, you can get a fair bit of flex out of it. So from Platinum Mechanical and Suspension, I got their Outback Armour shocks, but Platinum Mechanical and Suspension customize them, so they're 700mm shocks, I believe, so quite a bit of flex in them. And to match them, I got some 3-inch PSR coils in the rear. They're 300 kilo rated, but what that meant is they're a bit longer. But then because I got the tray and canopy on the back, it sat them down at about 2-inch, but it just meant that they held better through your flex. And because of that long travel down the back, I've also upgraded the rear brake lines, so they're longer. And then in regards to arms down the back, I've got some upgraded lower control arms. Pretty sure they're Roadrunner ones from memory. I could be wrong, but I'm fairly sure that's what they were. It was just what I could get my hands on at the time. I've got an adjustable Superior Engineering panhard rod down the back as well, just to... because once you lift it, your diff goes one way. It wasn't much because it's only a mild lift, but it still just allowed us to nicely centralize things again. And then I've got a stronger panhard rod in there too. Rock sliders on the side of the car, which are a must have in my opinion when you're doing harder tracks. The rock sliders being that they can actually handle the weight of your vehicle on it. So these were made by Kap Industries in Newcastle, just a bit of a custom rock slider for it. The only thing I regret with them is not infilling in between there, which I've since done on other vehicles I have, because you still just get like sticks like that come up through them and then leave little dings and scratches and marks and stuff on them. Snorkel here is a Platinum Mechanical and Suspension stainless snorkel. Stainless snorkel, I just prefer the looks of them, is the main reason I go them. They are stronger as well. Like, I've kind of nearly used this thing as a brush bar a couple of times and they seem to withstand it. It's also connected up to one of their custom air boxes with piping and all that too. The only thing I don't like is this is right here on your ear, and with a stainless snorkel and stainless piping and air box on a turbo diesel engine, this thing sucks pretty hard and loud in your ear. So once the window's up, it's fine, like you barely hear it, but driving with the window down, and nearly sort of blows your eardrum off. But I'll show the airbox and that once we get into the engine bay in a minute. One other thing I just remembered, down the back here, I have a Tag XR tow bar, so that I can tow with this car. It's also got rated recovery points on both sides of it there, and it's got set up with your towing plugs here. To be honest, I never actually tow with this car. For roof rack, I have a front runner platform. If you've been following my channel for a while, you would have seen I did originally have a Rhino rack, which fell off. There was the whole roof rack dilemma, big thing. We won't go into all that. So yeah, I've upgraded front runner one now, which is actually bolted through the water channel, or the cant rail, whatever you want to call it, into nuts and bolts underneath. So very strong, not going anywhere. And yeah, it'll handle what you put up there, obviously providing you're within the manufacturer's specifications of your roof itself. One pretty cool thing about this though is, I'll pull it off to show you. is I got one with the inbuilt roof rack table on top, so you can pull this out. Pretty cool table there for around camp. The only downfall of them is they are quite heavy. So if you're in for maybe building a car for hard tracks, might not be the mod for you, but for more people that are doing touring and stuff, it's a pretty sick mod to have for a place to store a nice table up there out of the way. Normally I keep recovery tracks, treads up the front of this roof rack, but as I said, we'll kind of strip this car at the moment because we're getting ready to sell it. And I'll pop some footage and a few shots up. I normally did run a rooftop tent across the back of that canopy there too. So yeah, 1.2 meter drift to Stockton Wildlands rooftop tent, which I really like. They're like a super lightweight, and yeah, me and my son Kai, we always slept in it, or me and my partner Demi. So that was sort of our main sleeping arrangement in this car. But I'll pop into the bonnet now and just go through a few things in here. I haven't done anything too major in here. It's reasonably factory. There's your piping coming in from your snorkel there into your airbox. Airbox has a pod filter in there, K&N pod filter, which I would not recommend to people who are doing regular off-roading. They're just not dust proof enough. I did fry a MAF sensor, and I reckon it was because a bit of oil came down and sort of cooked that MAF sensor. So normally I try now always just get paper filters, just throw them in the bin, get a new one, rather than your cleanable, oilable pod filters, K&N ones. The airbox is really good itself though. That's from Platinum Mechanical Suspension, and yeah, fully sealed, waterproof, dustproof. So this car's been underwater many a times and not an issue. Over this side I got an Ultimate 9 battery monitor there, so it connects to an app on the phone and you can see like your battery charge status, crank status, all that sort of stuff. Pretty cool little device. Got a secondary fuel filter there, and that's your main one there. Because these modern diesel engines are so sensitive, I always recommend to people to get a second fuel filter on them. Up under there, if you can see those green pipes in the background there, they're Ironman breathers, so they're diff, gearbox and transfer case breathers. Pretty cheap must-have mod if you're doing water crossings, protecting all those big driveline components. It's not a guarantee, but it definitely greatly reduces your risk of getting water in them and then contaminating those oils in there with water, and things start getting destroyed pretty quickly in there. Other than that, it's pretty stock in here. There's nothing major going on. These cars are pretty nice inside to begin with, being that they're a modern car. There's a switch for the ARB solaces on the front. They're actually dimmable. To be honest, I've never used it. I don't know, it seems a bit, I don't have any use for dimming them down. They're either on or they're not, but you can if you want to. Throttle controller here, so that's Ultimate 9 one. It's the EVC X, their latest and greatest throttle controller. They're actually another relatively cheap and super helpful and handy sort of accessory mod you can add to your car on and off-road driving. All it is the ability to increase or decrease your throttle response. So basically you can bring on the power much quicker if you need it, or bring it on much slower. I don't have one in my TB48 Patrol. You can't get them in it because of the way the throttle's set up, and I hate it. I wish I had one so bad. It's one of the things that really annoys me about that car. So yeah, pretty good mod to have. There's the button for the factory diff lock. So this car does come with a factory rear diff lock. Two-wheel drive for 4 high, 4 low. These are like some description of an auto hub in the front, so you don't have to lock the hubs in or anything. You just switch that when you need it and you'll be good to go. There's a Red Arc brake controller, and that's where I keep my UHF. So it's an Oricom one there to match the Oricom antenna, and yeah, just a handheld UHF. All the buttons are on it. The other thing it has in here, and this is factory, is it has a nice screen here which has your Apple CarPlay and all those sorts of things, which I like. Cruise control, and it's got pretty good aircon. Seat covers, I have some Razorback seat covers in the front, and then in the back I don't have any seat covers at the moment. That brings us down to the back of the car, the big one, the very obvious one. This car from factory came with a tub, which I ran for a while, and then upgraded to the aluminium train canopy. So this is from G-Works, they're a local train canopy manufacturer. So the tray is 1600 long and the canopy is 1400 long. And I don't remember the width, but I'm pretty sure it's 1800, around that, could be 1850. And this is what has made this car absolutely awesome to travel in, live out of, and camp out of. This is removable as well, so you can remove the canopy and just have it as a flat tray, but I've never done that. I've just always had it set up and ready to go. So with the water underneath, it has a 60-litre water tank that sits up under the tray. This is where it goes in on the side button there, water in, and then comes out over the other side there. I'll just go around all the outside of the train canopy before I open it up. So down the back, 33-inch spare tyre mounted to the back there. Jerry can holder, so you can carry an extra 20 litres of water if you need it. I commonly carried 20 litres of diesel in there. And this is a fold down ladder, which was access to the rooftop tent when I had that up there. I do have these little toolboxes on the side, and I just kept recovery gear in both of these, but yeah. And then inside the canopy, and this is, yeah, I love it in here. Super cool, love the layout. So good for camping out of. So starting here, got a fridge. It's a Bushman's 85-litre stand-up fridge. I was a bit hesitant about getting a stand-up fridge in the early days, just because of mainly because of things going everywhere, and you hear, oh, they let the cold air out, they don't keep that cold. But honestly, it's probably one of my favourite modifications I've ever done to a car. I absolutely love it. Providing that you just use a bit of common sense when you pack it. I've got these little containers in there. It's got a little freezer compartment at the top there, and it's just so much easier to, you just open it up, boom, you got your fridge, you got all your stuff. Next in the line of things, we have a slide out pantry. So yeah, stack all your stuff in through there, pop it back in, and then we have the drawer where I kept all my kitchen stuff. Pretty cool little drawer, and off it there you have a slide out table. So just like the perfect lunch setup, pull up, fridge, table, all your stuff, make your food. Slide that back in. And then on top of your drawer here, you've got quite a good space there for stacking stuff too. We got an incredible dual battery system in here, but I'll just do the other side first and then we'll jump into the dual battery system. On the other side, I kept it more open, just so if you had to carry big stuff around, it could still fit in here. And just also try and keep the weight down a bit as well, because if you do like drawers on both sides, it just starts to stack up. Okay, dual battery system. This was made by 12 Australia. So it's all inside this box here. So the box is made by G-Works, and then 12 mount all your wiring, all your accessories through that whole box. So Red Arc 2000 watt inverter. It's got like your big fuse box over the other side and your Manager 30. Manager 30s are basically an advanced version of a DC charger, in the fact that in one box they can receive solar energy, solar charge. They can receive obviously alternator charge from your car when you're driving. And you can also plug them into mains power. So you can charge this system up using mains power as well. So that was probably the best thing about them, just the versatility to do all those things. You got the Red Vision screen here, which is your central way to control everything. So you can turn your lights on and off. You can light up the back there, that's light for the other side. You can check your charge percentage here, water tank, so I can see my water tank's full. And yeah, you can pretty much centralize, control everything from here, check charge going in and out. And then this is all the outlets as well. Probably didn't need all those plugs. I probably went a little bit overboard with them. I was just trying to think of all my camera gear I charge on the road, phones, laptops, drones, Sony cameras, GoPros. But yeah, so it was helpful, but I probably didn't need quite that many maybe. I love it, so cool, but it does add a fair bit of weight, and because it sits up there, I did notice that little bit of weight there on the harder tracks, but touring and mid-range tracks, never an issue. And then in there, the power for the system is an Invicta 200 amp hour lithium battery. So a hell of a lot of power. It meant you could set up somewhere for a few nights, and had solar on the roof, which is on the rooftop tent. So actually this plug here, there it is, that plugged into solar on the roof, so I had the solar charge for it too. And yeah, it was super well set up, this whole setup. One other thing I will say about this tray and canopy setup is I reckon this is the perfect one for touring. It's a bit too much weight on the tougher tracks. Coming from sort of different setups, this is, yeah, taken away from that tough ability. It's been from Tassie to Cape York, everything in between, Victorian High Country, Fraser Island, Lithgow, Sydney, Coffs Harbour, Blue Mountains, Morden Island. It's done it all. It's been all, this place was multiple times over. So my overall opinion is it's been an unreal car, and it's got me home just about it's got me home every single time. It's never broke down out the bush. It's been on a tow truck twice. One was when a wheel bearing collapsed on the highway, had to get towed to the town to get a new wheel bearing and hub assembly fitted. And another time was when a coolant hose rubbed through and all the coolant ran out of it. So that was 2 times it's been on a tow truck, but it's always got me out of the bush. It seems to have handled the punishment I put it up to really well. It's been a good car. I definitely recommend them. I am going to be a little bit sad to sell it and see it go. I put out a questionnaire on Instagram, social media, to see if anyone had any questions about this car, so I'll finish up the video here with a little bit of a Q&A. First one being, your experience with IFS versus solid axle daily touring tough tracks. After owning solid axle vehicles now, I much prefer them. I don't really see too many major benefits of an IFS over solid axle. This car is a bit nicer to drive on the road. That's more the fact that it's a modern car with better insulation in the cab. Like the other vehicles I drive, older solid axle vehicles, they are a bit noisy in there. The solid axle vehicles are a bit more boatier on the road, but that's also like their 35s, 3-inch lift, like their off-road setup suspension in them, so it's a bit hard to compare it to this with just like a mild sort of well-managed suspension setup in it. And then off-road, the solid axles are just far supreme. They handle just the smaller rough stuff much better. Corrugations, just bumps, divots, you're hitting the road, especially if you've got a little bit of speed, they just eat it up. And then obviously when it comes to proper obstacles, better suspension travel, tougher, less likely to break. You feel like you can, you know, get into things a bit more and not feel like you're about to break something. So a couple of benefits there of IFS, but just for me personally, I'd see solid axle as being superior. Question number 2, most common issues you had with it. Like some common issues to look out with these things are the intercooler hoses, pipes leaking, but as I said, I didn't really seem to face that in this one. The rear main seal did let go. It's another common issue on them, the rear mains. That front coolant hose rubbing through, driver's side in front of the engine block down the bottom. It's not very well secured and it gets pushed back into your AC pulley. AC pulley rubs on it, rubs it through, coolant starts leaking out, and if you don't catch onto that quick, game over for your engines. Boost solenoids, they're probably the main sort of things to look out for in these cars, I guess. That's the main things I can think of there. Question number 3, what are your 3 favourite things about the Nav which you can't have in your patrols? Tray and canopy set up on the back, camping out of that with a rooftop tent. It was just it was unreal. I just absolutely love that. With a stand-up fridge, like everything well set out, slide-out table, just so quick, easy, efficient to use. Just being a bit quieter in the cab, I guess. A bit more modern in there would probably be the only other thing I'd say. That'd be the 2 main things that I love about this vehicle over the other ones. Alright, I'll finish it up there. I'll just answer those 3 questions. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the video and have enjoyed seeing this Nav and everything we've done with it over the last 3 years. It's been an unreal car. Super happy with it. It's going to be, you know, sad to see it go, but it was just the right time to do it, and we're going to use the money from selling this to put towards a house deposit. Not a whole house deposit. It's not a 79, but we just need a little bit more, so that'll give us the extra we need to get a house and then on to a bit bigger and better things in the future. But yeah, it's taken me everywhere. It's taught me so much about four-wheel driving and it's been awesome. Alright, hopefully everyone enjoyed and I'll see you in the next video. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom. sound alright so far? Boom, boom. I'll just go around all the outside of the train canopy. Oh, little boy. Cuddles for you.